It doesn't always look like pain. Sometimes it looks like waiting for a reply that never comes. Sometimes it sounds like "I'm just busy," over and over again. Sometimes it feels like anxiety that you mistake for butterflies. Love, real love, isn't supposed to feel like a test you keep failing. But when love feels unsafe, we begin to believe that love must be earned, that closeness must be chased, that distance is normal. Maybe you've found yourself asking, "Why do I feel so anxious around the person I love? Why do I keep doubting my worth in this relationship? Why does it feel like I'm always on edge, even when nothing is wrong?" These are not random emotional flares. These are symptoms of attachment trauma, showing up through subtle, invisible dynamics we've learned to normalize. And the hardest part? We often think this is love. In this video, we're going to dissect the anatomy of unsafe love. Not just the dramatic red flags, but the quiet, everyday patterns that leave you feeling unseen, unworthy, and emotionally starving. Because until we can name it, we can't break it. This is part 2 of When Love Feels Safe, attachment trauma disguised as chemistry. And in this part, we begin to map what trauma-bonded love actually looks like, so you can begin to see it in your own life and choose something better. What is unsafe love, and why we normalize it? Unsafe love doesn't always arrive with bruises or betrayal. Sometimes it arrives as inconsistency, a good morning text followed by 3 days of silence, a passionate night followed by emotional coldness, a partner who says they care, but never really shows up when it matters. It's not the absence of love that makes it unsafe. It's the presence of confusion. You never quite know where you stand. You feel both chosen and invisible, wanted and rejected, seen, then suddenly erased. And because the highs are so high, you learn to tolerate the lows. In fact, you start to believe you have to. This is the hallmark of unsafe love. Emotional volatility that feels addictive. It mirrors the kind of love many people experienced in childhood. Love that was conditional, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable. So when we encounter it again as adults, it feels familiar, and we confuse familiarity with safety. How trauma wires us to crave uncertainty. Let's go deeper. As children, we learn about love not through words, but through nervous system states. If love meant walking on eggshells, if love meant performing to be praised, if love meant being ignored until you had a breakdown, then your body came to associate disconnection with desire. In trauma psychology, we call this insecure attachment. You don't just fear abandonment, you expect it. So as adults, when someone is stable and present, you feel uneasy. You say they're too nice or boring. What you're really saying is, my nervous system doesn't know how to feel safe without chaos. This is where chemistry becomes dangerous. It's not chemistry, it's adrenaline. It's not love, it's reenactment. You're not falling in love, you're falling into a pattern. 10 signs you're in an unsafe love dynamic. Let's now break down the anatomy of unsafe love. How it shows up in real relationships? Often subtly. Here are 10 signs. 1. You feel anxious when they're not around. Not because you miss them, but because you're afraid they'll forget you. It's not longing, it's emotional survival. You associate their presence with your worth. 2. You constantly second-guess yourself. Should I have said that? Did I come on too strong? You walk on emotional eggshells trying not to mess it up, even though you're not doing anything wrong. 3. You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Even in moments of closeness, your guard is up. You expect withdrawal, mood swings, or silence because it's happened before. 4. Your needs feel like burdens. You want more connection, more clarity, more consistency. But when you express it, you feel guilty, like you're too much or too sensitive. 5. You feel deeply alone in the relationship. You're together, but you feel more lonely with them than you do when you're by yourself. You mistake emotional unavailability for mystery or depth. They don't share their feelings, and you convince yourself they're just deep, complicated, or not good at expressing themselves. But really, they're just not emotionally present. 7. You keep excusing red flags because you're attached to the potential. You're not in love with who they are. You're in love with who you hope they'll become. You overfunction in the relationship. You initiate every conversation. You plan everything. You carry the emotional weight, while they do the bare minimum to keep you hopeful. 9. You feel addicted to the high of being seen. When they give you attention, it feels euphoric, like a drug. Because it's rare, unpredictable, and you've learned to survive on crumbs. So you know it hurts, but you're terrified to leave. You say it's not that bad. You convince yourself it's love, but deep down, you know you're betraying yourself just to feel chosen. Why unsafe love feels safer than real love. This is the most tragic part of the trauma bond. Unsafe love feels safe because you've never known anything different. Safe love feels foreign. Stable love feels uncomfortable. Real love, the kind that doesn't require performing, fixing, or sacrificing your self-worth, feels fake at first. This is why so many trauma survivors chase emotionally unavailable partners. You're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the feeling of trying to win love. Because if you can finally get love from someone who's hard to love, maybe it will undo the pain of never feeling loved enough as a child. But it won't. You'll just keep breaking your heart, calling it destiny. How to begin breaking the cycle? Here's the truth. The more self-aware you become, the harder it is to stay in places that hurt you. Your healing will make unhealthy love feel less and less tolerable. And that's a good thing. So where do you start? Learn to sit with your needs and not judge them. Your need for closeness, reassurance, consistency. These are human, not weaknesses. Track your nervous system. Ask yourself, is this connection making me feel safe or stimulated? Grieve the fantasy. Mourn the potential you saw in them. Accept that your love cannot fix their emotional wounds. Reparent your inner child. Remind her that she no longer has to earn love by being perfect, small, or silent. Choose partners who choose you back, with clarity, consistency, and care. Love isn't love if it hurts you more than it heals you. If you saw yourself in any of this, know that you're not alone. You're not broken, and you're not hard to love. You just learned love in a way that confused pain for passion. But now, you're unlearning. You're awakening. You're choosing to heal, even if it means being alone for a while. Because that kind of solitude, that's not loneliness. That's self-respect. This was part 2 of our series, When Love Feels Unsafe. In part 3, we'll explore the root of this entire cycle, the inner child, the abandonment wound, and why we stay even when we know we're suffering. Make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments what resonated most with you.